Hello, welcome to the book club here at Sports Night Live. I'm pleased to say joining me today is Gershon Portnoi. How are you, mate?
I'm very well. How are you doing?
I'm very well. First things first, before we get to the book, Leyton Orient fan. What, you 17th of League One?
We're in those kind of regions, the nether regions they're sometimes described as, but I'm quietly confident that we're about to make a charge up the table as soon as Dean Cox returns from injury.
It's all about Coxey, isn't it?
It is, absolutely. Yeah. Got a chant about him as well, which I'll tell you later.
Good.
And yeah, hopefully we'll have a respectable mid-table finish this season.
Happy days. Yeah, we will get to the Cox chant. And the reason you're here, of course, is because of your book, Who Are You?, which is a guide to the best ever football chants, which is something I've wanted to look into anyway. In all seriousness, I'm a massive fan of chants and their origins, and some of them, we'll talk about it in more depth in a bit, are brilliant. So yeah, first of all, go and buy this. Don't do it now. Watch this first, then buy it. But there we go. So how much fun was it writing the book? Because we'll start with the origins of it and why you decided to do it. You said you were on the, you write in there, you were on the tube.
Yeah, well, like yourself, a massive football fan and a huge fan of football chants as well. So clearly this is a dream project to work on. But yeah, what actually happened in terms of the spark that ignited the whole project was I was travelling on the Underground, and as you may be able to tell from my hair, it's fairly distinctive. And a group of young lads, I think they were city boys, they kind of, had a bit of probably a work night out, something like that. They kind of were sniggering and laughing and pointing in my direction, nothing.
Happens a lot, happens to the best of us.
Yeah,
don't worry, Gershon.
Nothing new there. And they started singing the old West Ham Christian Daly chant at me, oh, Christian Daly, you are the love of my life, oh, Christian Daly. Okay, let's not go into it. And I kind of realised, wow, do I really look like Christian Daly? And maybe in my hair a little bit. Yeah. But I thought, that was the point where I thought, maybe this is a calling. This is my moment. I need to put together a tome, the ultimate collection of the classic football chants, and really tell a tale of what is essentially a massive part of football fan culture.
Exactly, and this one obviously the book would be far larger should you have covered every single chant. So how easy/difficult was it to choose the chants that you actually ended up with in the book?
This was the most difficult part, to be honest, because like you say, I could have had like a sort of Encyclopedia Britannica size volume of football chants. I think they're pretty much infinite. There's no end to them. Choosing them was difficult. The lawyers helped me, which was brilliant, because obviously there were certain ones that really couldn't have gone in. But yeah, no, jokes aside, it was the hardest part, because I had a huge list of literally thousands. So that was tricky. Difficult decisions were made, but as the publishers reminded me, I've already got lots of material for a sequel possibly. So happy days.
Exactly. Now, what's really nice about the book is that it's not just like you say, it's not just chant after chant after chant with a little blurb about each one. You've spoken to players about it. There's a part in the middle where you talk about the origins of chants and how they started and how they're developing now. Focusing on the players, I've always imagined it must be one of the nicest things in the world from a footballer point of view, apart from obviously winning World Cups, Champions League, stuff like that, to hear a terrorist sing a chant about you, providing it's a positive one. How did you? You speak to Jason Cundy, you spoke to Chris Kamara. There's quite a few players now. How do they respond to obviously the question to their favourite chants, and how much does it mean to them when fans sing about them?
Well, first of all, yeah, clearly it's as you would imagine. Yeah. Like if you can imagine thousands of people singing a song about you, it's going to feel pretty good. Unless the song is derogatory, of course, in which case it's not that good. But yeah, they were all kind of in awe of the fact that, wow, thousands of people were moved enough by whatever it is I did on the pitch or for their club that they would sing a song about them. And actually it was a lot, I never specified when I was talking to all the ex-pros that they had to pick a chant that was about them. It was just what's their favourite chant. And probably 80% of them did pick their own chant that was something about
Football's
them.
Ego.
Yeah, well, exactly. Which says it all. Fair enough. The fact is,
exactly.
If you're Mick Quinn and you've got thousands of people singing, he's big, he's round, he's worth £1 million. Exactly. Why wouldn't you talk about it? But yeah, I think that we cannot underestimate the importance. I think Alvin Martin pointed it out. The effect that fans and the fans singing has on a team and on individual players as well is huge, both negative and positive. He really underlined that point. He said you should never underestimate really what those chants can do for teams in terms of lifting them, and what they could do, against individuals. If someone's getting a hard time, a player, an away player, for example, is getting a real tough time from the home fans, it can have a huge, make a huge difference.
Well, I mean, you look at clubs like Stoke who have got this, this almost motto of the 12th man down there at the Britannia, and it's not, like you say, it's not just chants, is it? It's constantly supporting a team, no matter what the score is on the pitch and no matter how it's going. And you hear players and managers saying it all the time. Sometimes now, even in programme notes, we need you tonight. We need you, like this is a big game for us. And like you say, it has a massive influence.
Well, I make reference to it in the book because it's such a crucial thing. Like the amount of times, especially if you get sort of from early April onwards to the end of the season, the amount of times that managers will say in the press, in programmes, or any chance they can get, we need the fans on board. We need them to make as much noise tonight. This, that, and the other. It is just it's integral. Like, it's a huge part of it. Obviously, it's down to the 11 players on the pitch. Clearly, they've got to go and do their bit as well. But if you can imagine they were doing it, with just in front of a silent audience of like 20 or 30,000 people, it's just not going to be the same, is it? So it really is. It's a huge part of the game now.
Well, we're going to look at some chants. Me and a few of the guys from the gallery, we did a few chants yesterday. Before we do that, I just want to ask you, from an Orient fan point of view, because as a Chelsea fan, I sometimes hate it when we're in a game like, maybe it's a Carling Cup game, maybe it's a Champions League game that doesn't matter anymore. I mean, you'll know, you won't know about this, but one day maybe. But you get a lot of corporate fans in, and the away fans are far better. I remember going to a Carling Cup match between Chelsea and Villa at Stamford Bridge, and the stadium was, the atmosphere was awful, and Villa fans are brilliant because away fans are. Do you ever find it uncomfortable being a home fan sometimes when you're in a game and the away fans are definitely making more noise than you, even though you might be 1-0 up, 2-0 up?
Yeah, I think it's kind of now part and parcel of the way football is. Away fans are expected to just make a lot more noise, to get behind their team. They could be 5-0 down, and the chances are they're going to sing, "We're going to win 6-5," and stuff like that. It's now just accepted that the away fans will make more noise. They'll give much better support, and they'll make fun of the home fans for not getting behind their team. But I think the fact is, it makes a big difference. If you're, say, at Chelsea, the Emirates, at Old Trafford or wherever, and 50, 60,000 home fans suddenly do decide to sing up, there's not a lot the away fans can actually do that. They're going to be outsung. However, you support a lower division team like Orient, even 100 or 150 away fans are probably going to make a lot more noise than 3,000 or 4,000 Orient fans, because we rarely will all sing together. But talking about the corporate fans, I have been a corporate fan myself. I have to admit, I have to get it all out now in the open. I want it out of the way. And the food was all right, but atmosphere.
Yeah, it's not ideal.
Yeah, it's not the same.
Right, let's have a look at some of my favourites. Start with my favourite one, and I think for me, like basically, I have written a few football songs before and stuff like that. One actually got sung for one game, and then they changed it about David Luiz, which was probably the best day of my life.
Wow. But that's a great
we'll come on to that. We'll come on to me later. I like to make everything about me. But first, let's have a little look at this one. It's my favourite. It's about Pavlyuchenko, and it's from Spurs fans. But the Russians always has a bugger in his game coat. Supercalifragilistic, Roman Pavlyuchenko. Supercalifragilistic, but the Russians always has a bugger in his game coat. Supercalifragilistic, Roman Pavlyuchenko. I mean, as you can see there, the first time we did it, we were all familiar with the word. Second time it got a little bit shabby. But what I like about that is, firstly, it's supercalifragilisticexpialidocious, which doesn't belong on a football pitch anywhere near a football ground.
No connection whatsoever with football.
And secondly, it's just perfect, isn't it? It scans perfectly, the rhyme is perfect, and the content is just brilliant.
Well, it's unusual for a football chant in that it's actually quite complicated in terms of the words. You've got to do more than just sing the name of a player or a team, or la 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 than the name of a player or team. So actually, it's a little bit of an anomaly in a way, because it shouldn't work, but like you say, it's actually perfect. Like the syllables, it all syncs perfectly, and whether you like it or not, football fans might not, like you say, Supercalifragilistic might not really be a football song, but everyone kind of knows it.
Exactly.
So it's such a crucial part of a football song taking off. If you know the tune, everyone knows the tune. You've got to start learning a tune. You've got no chance. Nothing can happen.
You say that, and it's interesting how there seems to be almost like 6 or 7 core songs. Some are from hymns, some are from wherever they are. From those songs, from the melodies, the words change, the teams change, the players change. But we all seem to know those particular anthems.
That's it. You do get like you say, a set amount of tunes for football chants. Now and again, you get 1 or 2 new ones popping up. But essentially, Bread of Heaven, for example, is pretty much a staple. You know, it's sung for everything from We Can See You Sneaking Out to You're Not Singing Anymore to, you know, and it's time and time again. And I suppose the fact that everyone knows it, it's just easy. So you want to start up a chant, kind of like a spontaneous one about you know, the referee or one of the opposition players. It's just really easy to use a tune that everyone's going to know.
Exactly.
So yeah, I think it's just convenience.
And what I've always loved the image of is if they were actually singing the proper words. If they were going, "Oh Christmas tree, oh," it would just be genius. It would just. I think one day they need to just do it. Let's have a look at another one. This one is slightly different because it's again not perhaps from a you know, a staple of the basic songs I go for. It's the one about George Kincladze when he was at City, and it's obviously to a City fans band, Oasis. It's the Kincladze chant. Have a little listen.
And all the goals that City score are blinding. There are many times a week we'd like to score again, but we don't know how. 'Cause maybe you're gonna be the one that saves me.
I mean, that's interesting in a way because it's come from a pop song, and I think probably the most prominent one at the moment that England fans all know about is the Baddiel and Skinner 3 lines, which then, and even they couldn't believe it ended up taking off as it did. Is that another sort of good avenue in? If it's like someone's sitting there at home going, "I've got a really good chant, but I'm doing it to, I don't know, like Britney Spears, Baby One More Time." Is it good to look at the the sort of laddie songs or football culture songs and take it from there?
Yeah, I think that the you know, I've got a chapter in the book which is called sort of dance floor chants,
Yes,
and it's
yeah.
and you know, this features in it because obviously there's been a strong link between popular music culture and football fan culture. They're often very tied in terms of what fans wear or be heavily influenced by the bands they're into as well. And with that, you know, we've seen obviously with that Kincladze song as well, quite often these tunes and chants adapted to those tunes will make it onto the Terraces. And you know, we've had some classics. I mean, as well as that Oasis one, you know, Stoke sang a few years ago a Kajagoogoo inspired one, which was I forget it now. It was basically Tun Chai Chai Hooth Hooth Abdullah.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So I mean, it's brilliant the way people adapt it, and like I say, there's always been a link between the two, so it's kind of natural that it comes out on the Terraces.
I suppose the other one that springs to mind, I think Spurs did it before that. What's that coming over the hill, Pascal Chimbonda?
Yeah.
Which was brilliant. The one I'll talk about with David Luiz one before we go to a break now. I did basically when he first joined, did a song to David Luiz, which was David Louis, which was like that. And when he scored that first goal against Manchester City, it was Manchester United. It was the first home goal he scored. In the shed upper, they sung it. I got very excited. It now become the same one that you have about your hair. We want curly hair too, which is a real blow for me personally.
It was the curly hair that did it. You see, if David Luiz didn't have curly hair, you'd probably be a Chelsea legend already yourself for that song.
Well, I like to think I am, Gershon, and you know, it's
even more so.
Disappointing that you've questioned it. Anyway, listen, we're going to be talking more about the origins of chants and also some of your favourites. We're just going to take a very quick break. Hello and welcome back to the book club here on Sports Night Live. Pleased to say today joining me and talking about his book, Who Are Ya? The Football's Best Ever Chants, is Gershon Portnoi. Gershon, we've been talking about chants, the positive effect they have. We'll talk a little bit in a minute about the negative effect they can have on impact they can have on players. Let's talk first about the origins, because this is quite interesting. You write in the book, there's a nice sort of passage in the middle where you're talking about how they're created, and we spoke earlier about away fans who tend to be the hardcore, and that's the case that mainly a lot of the newer chants are made by away fans.
Yeah, I think there's a sort of hard and fast rule, having spoken to quite a lot of people that actually try to write the chants, compose new ones, is that if a song takes off at an away game, either in the pub before the match or actually in the ground, it's you know, there's probably a 99% chance that at the following week's home game it will be all over the ground, and you kind of need that, you know, because obviously away fans are known as a much more hardcore following, much more sort of loyal, maybe even more passionate in some cases. So if they're singing it, you know, an away game, a new song, the chances are following week it will be at the home game. So yeah, it's quite important that you have that the hardcore, if you like, get behind it.
I mean, I can't. There's nothing better, I would imagine, than a footballer having that feeling of a group of people singing a song about you. But it must be such a nice feeling to know that you created a chant and have 38,000 people singing it.
Well, that's it. I mean, Pete Boyle, who I spoke to, who's a Man United fan, who's written a lot of Man United chants that have taken off, described it to me as like, he can't essentially play for the club because he's not good enough. Yeah. But it's almost like the next best thing than sort of scoring at the Stretford end is having the Stretford end sing a song that you know you've written. And like he spoke at length about some of the attempts he's had, some of the near misses, if you like, because you have to be fairly thick-skinned. You have to be prepared to sort of get up in the middle of a pub and just start singing a song. And if it's not a very good one, have hundreds of people laughing at you potentially. Yeah. But then it kind of the counterbalance to that is that if one is good and it takes off, you sort of don't mind a few people laughing at you because suddenly tens of thousands are singing your song. And yeah, I think certainly according to him, it is an amazing feeling. Especially probably like the sort of the peak of fandom, if you like. Exactly. It's like the most you can do for your club.
And it's similar, I suppose, to an artist of some sort when they sing out at Glastonbury and have all the people singing their verse back to them. It must be a similar sort of feeling.
Yeah, it's that rock star thing. Absolutely.
Now, you talk a bit about the internet in the book as well, and how that's now sort of affected. For a lot of fans who create the songs, it's sort of seen maybe as a negative because people are trying to go on, amend it themselves, and on the fan forums and stuff. Is there a danger of that having a negative impact, or is it just a byproduct that won't make a difference here or there?
I don't think it'll make a massive amount of difference. I mean, you do get people sharing songs and maybe sharing their ideas for songs on the internet now, and therefore, what might have been a perfectly decent song which could have taken off, first time of asking, suddenly, someone will go, oh, why didn't you do that for the last line, or what about this? And then you know what it's like. Everyone has to have their tuppence worth. So yeah, that can be a slight negative side of it. But the fact is, with the internet, the world's become obviously a much smaller place. And now fans are exchanging ideas and chants with fans from Europe, from South America, from all over the world, and you can see the impact that's having. There's a lot of chants that are sung now, especially by lower division sides, by Football League sides, that are directly from Italy, from South America. The Cavesi is really popular at the moment, which is essentially it's a song that doesn't even have words. It's just like a lot of woo. Palace do that, and a lot of other clubs lower down the leagues do that song as well. So without the internet, you wouldn't have that kind of exchange of tunes and ideas. And it's the same with song. We were talking about tunes for chants before as well. And actually a lot of the newer tunes, for example, the Johnny Comes Marching Home Again, which is the Fernando Torres, most famous example of it is the Fernando Torres one. Sorry for mentioning Fernando Torres. So that is obviously, that chant was quite big in Europe, in Italy especially, and has come over here, obviously through Champions League, but also through the internet, a lot of fans watching what other clubs are doing.
Now you talk about the Torres chant. It's a nice example of the rhetoric that you get between opposing fans, and sometimes the best chants come up like literally like that, don't they? A set of fans will mock one set and then they'll adapt it and sometimes take the mick out of themselves, but sometimes give it back. And I guess some of the best chants we hear, because of the spontaneity of it, are those type.
Absolutely, you get so many. It's almost like chant satire, So you'll have like an original chant, and then sometimes, like you say, almost instantaneously, another set of fans will just tweak it ever so slightly. So for example, when Orient played Arsenal, see how I got Orient in there really easily.
Lovely stuff.
Played Arsenal in the FA Cup last season, held them to a draw 1-1.
Yep. Do you remember that?
Not
What
sure.
happened in the replay?
I don't. No idea. I think I'm still waiting.
Might still be in it.
Still waiting for the replay. Anyway, so we're sung. Arsenal weren't having a great time, obviously, at the time, and we sang to them, "You're going to win F all." And they immediately came back with, "You've never won F all," which was somewhat predictable, but
a tweak.
Yeah, exactly, a slight tweak, and it works. Yeah.
And now there are seasonal chants. One of the worst, I don't know, for like 3 seasons we seem to play Villa on Boxing Day or just around, and they've got that really tedious, and I don't care if I'm upsetting Villa fans, they've got this really tedious one where they're like, da, 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 and it's dull and boring. But there are some good sort of seasonal chants. Let's have a little listen to them now. The first one is the one that was about Dwight Yorke, Start Spreading the News. Let's have a little listen to that.
Start spreading the news. He's playing today. I want to see him score again. Dwight Yorke, Dwight Yorke. If he can score from there, he'll score from anywhere. It's up to you, Dwight Yorke.
we say seasonal, it's mainly about a city in America or a state in America. But as you said, we've played it now, so now it's become seasonal, synonymous with Christmas.
We just made it seasonal. Everyone's going to talk about that song as a Christmas classic from now on.
What I love about that though is there's no part of Sinatra when he started singing that thought, I reckon some people are going to sing that about Dwight York at some point. That would just give it longevity.
That is the brilliant thing about Chants, like you say. Can you imagine the original artists when they hear the football fans' version? It's like Sheffield United's Greasy Chip Butty song, which is like their anthem, and it's an absolutely brilliant football song. Could John Denver, Annie's song, have ever believed that would be sung by Sheffield United fans in the way it is?
Exactly.
Probably not.
Well, listen, let's actually go seasonal now. Let's go with Santa Cruz, and there's an obvious link there which I don't even have to spell out. Have a little listen to this one.
Santa Cruz coming to town. Santa Cruz coming to town. Santa Cruz is coming to town. Santa Cruz coming to town. Santa Cruz coming to town. Santa Cruz is coming to town.
You just said we're getting into it there. Probably a little bit too much.
How many drinks did they have before recording those?
None. And
Chants?
this is one of the things I want to talk to you about, because I find it fascinating. If you were to go up to a bloke in the street and say, "Can you sing Bread of Heaven?" They'd be like, "No." They would refuse to do it. Everyone would get embarrassed. But for some reason, you put a man inside a football stadium, and even if he's just with 2 or 3 of his mates, it's not even a football stadium, is it? They do it in the tube, they do it on the escalators, they do it everywhere.
Absolutely.
What is it about football chants that suddenly makes it okay for men to sing?
That is the funny thing, isn't it? You don't need to be anywhere near a football ground now. And like you say, if you're in a group of people as small as 2, a chant and breaking out into song is perfectly acceptable. Yeah,
it is quite a manly thing, isn't
it?
It's quite, you know, when I've ever sung a chant, you do get a sense of blokey.
Absolutely, yeah. We're all men, and this is all perfectly acceptable.
This is what we do.
Yeah, exactly. And no, it's interesting because I spoke to a couple of university professors who've done a lot of study into football fan behaviour and you know, the social side of it. And it's clearly very tribal. Being, you know, supporting a football team is a very tribal thing. It's about belonging. It's about an identity. And for some reason, yeah, like you say, you'd stop a bloke on the street. There's no way he's going to belt out any song for you that you ask. But in that context, when it's part of you belonging to your team and showing your support and doing everything you can, yeah, it is perfectly acceptable. And you know, most blokes would do it. Most blokes would sing along because they think they're doing their bit for the team and they want to be part of that cause. So yeah, it's quite interesting, sort of psychologically.
Now, like I said, we've spoken about the positives. Just quickly on the negatives. Recently, we obviously heard Arsenal fans at White Hart Lane singing to Adebayor, and it made obviously the media attention as well, made the press, because it was you know, they're obviously referring to the traumatic experience he had in Angola. It can get too far, and there are times when perhaps a large group, and I think some fans don't even realise what they're doing, and they join in because it's like, you know, it's a peer pressure. You know, all your fans sing it, you feel you need to join in. But what does that do? I mean, what does that, in your experience, having spoken to players, what does it do to them when there is a negative chant, you know, directed at them? Yeah,
I mean, I think certainly this season there've been, like you say, there've been a few examples actually of chanting probably going a bit too far in terms of taste and, you know, just general decency. And I think it can definitely have an effect on the players. If the players, it's not, you know, a lot of players always say, oh, you know, did you hear this, did you hear that? And the player will go, oh, you know, I'll concentrate on the game, I didn't hear it. I wouldn't be fooled by that.
No.
Players are very aware of what is being sung by the crowd, however focused they are on the game. When you've got 5,000 people singing something abusive towards you, or something that's actually, you know, quite personal about you, a member of your family. David Beckham and Posh Spice, for example.
Yeah, exactly.
Without going into too much
detail. You've got the section, haven't you, when chants go too far, almost, which
exactly.
is a list of those ones which are a little personal.
It is. That's the one that the lawyers allowed.
Exactly. But is there an element in it? Because the other thing you hear players say sometimes when they do have a negative chant directed at them is that it spurs them on, and it fires them, and they think the best way to respond to this is to score against your team.
Yeah, it can definitely have a complete reverse effect. You know, you think you get on a player's back. I think it so often it depends on the individual, doesn't it? You know, you can imagine someone like Wayne Rooney hearing whatever it is, you know, being sung about him or his family. He'll be like, right, you know, I'm going to show them, and he'll, you know, probably score a hat trick in 5 minutes or something. But there's other players that might be slightly more fragile and delicate, and it can go the other way, and it might just not happen for them on that particular day. So yeah, I think that fans kind of I wouldn't sort of underestimate the, that fans do know that they're going to get under certain players' skin, and they may well sing songs that are quite close to the line in order to try and just give that little edge, because it's sort of like, when you're talking about, especially with the top teams, there's very fine lines of difference between them talent-wise, and any little edge you can get, even if it's from the fans doing something like that, trying to put the player off or whatever. What happens at I know it's slightly different, but when a penalty's taken, fans behind the goal, if it's the opposing player, will do anything they can to put that player off. Exactly. And that's perfectly acceptable as well for some reason.
Exactly. Now, what is just to finish? What is your favourite chant? If you had to just pick one.
That's a great question.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
I thought so. I thought it was excellent.
That's brilliant.
And
that
well
brilliant.
asked.
I'd probably have to say that aside from Orient's fantastic Dean Cox chant, which I told you before, he's only 5'4", his nickname's Tiny, so we all sing "We've Got Tiny Cocks." Anyway,
like it.
Apart from that, Andy Gorham, Rangers goalkeeper at the time, there was a story in the papers before a match where it was revealed he was mildly schizophrenic. Nothing too serious, but whatever, it just came out in the press. And the following Rangers game, the supporters started singing "Two Andy Gorhams, there's only two Andy Gorhams," and it's everything, exactly, wit, topicality and
basic song,
easy song, exactly, and very, very funny as well.
Gershon, it's been an absolute pleasure to talk to you. Your book "Who Are You" is out now, a perfect stocking filler, if you don't mind me saying, for Christmas at £9.99.
£5 on Amazon.
£5 on Amazon. Go Amazon. You're saving the world one book at a time. Gershon, an absolute pleasure.
Thank you very much.
To talk to you.
Cheers.
Thanks for coming down.